habits are here to stay, or are they? In this episode, we're going to be talking about habits and why it can be hard to change, but most importantly, how you can change them. This is Aryana Rollins, and you're listening to Mindful Manifesting. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the Mindful Manifesting community and letting me be in your earbuds and cheer you on your growth, and just so grateful. All right, so let's dive into it. So we're going to be talking about three different subjects, Aryana. One, understanding habits and what kind they are. Two, retraining your brain. And three, putting action into what you're learning. Putting action into new learning. And I was thinking the other day, I'm part of a couple communities, business, coaching, mentorship. And there's one in particular that every time I hear her say it is that when you come up with a limiting belief or a limiting perception, you have a choice. Do you want to keep it? And I was like, well, do we? Habits are different than that. And habits are a way of thinking, way of feeling, a way of being. But I get ahead of myself. Let's talk about this. So this episode's about beyond mindset. Retrain your brain. And I will admit there's a bit of a rant because, as I mentioned, there's so much talk around changing your mindset. And some of it is simple and banal. Isn't that a great word, banal? As well, when you catch a negative thought or belief, ask yourself, do I want to keep that? And as if it were so easy. If it were so easy to catch a negative thought or belief in action and then just simply choosing not to believe that, we would all have incredible relationships. We'd be making easy money. We'd have great health. Obviously, there's a missing piece because simply catching the thought and putting in a nice, new, bright, shiny thought isn't doing it for us. So I think people who perpetuate this just change your mind is really hurting the industry of human growth. Because, like I said, if it were that easy, we'd change our mind. No one wants to suffer. No one wants to work harder than they have to. Everyone wants loving relationship. Everyone wants health, vibrant health. But most of us don't. We may have 1 out of the 3, some maybe 2 out of the 3, but 3 out of 3, wow. So why doesn't it work? Let's talk about that. What can we do? Well, this episode is beyond the change your mind casual tips. And so let's get into it. Let's talk first about understanding habits. Well, this is my understanding. This is the way I see habits work. We have kind of a habit mind. Yeah, we have a habit mind. Now, that habit mind can really serve us. It's the part of us that remembers how to turn on the coffee maker and make a cup of coffee. It's the part of us that knows how to drive a car safely. It's the part of us that keeps us to our routine. And it's the part of us that helps remind us to brush our teeth, take a shower. Now, we take all that for granted, all that stuff, don't we? We think, yeah, of course I'll do that. But there's parts of us that also are in our habit mind that we may not be so appreciative of. Let's get an example going here. Oh, yeah. For anybody who knows me, I normally don't eat refined sugar. Don't let me get on that rant, or I'll never let you go. And since I moved, I decided to buy a container of ice cream. It's hot outside in Austin. It's 98 here, Fahrenheit. It's hot. And I really enjoyed it. I just did a little bit, maybe 2 ounces, but it started to become a daily, ready for it, habit. So I'd do something, and then it's like in the afternoon, that kind of mid-afternoon break around 3 o'clock. And it's like, oh yeah, I got ice cream in the freezer. Yay. So I go run and get the ice cream, just have a short little few tastes of it, and I put it back. Well, it lasted me. I don't eat a whole lot of sweets, even if I have them nearby. lasted me about, 4 or 5 days. Well, I ran out of ice cream and I went to the grocery store yesterday. I found myself making a beeline to the ice cream section. And I'm looking, I said, maybe a Dove bar, maybe a Haagen-Dazs. And I'm like living through all this. And I'm like, wait a minute, put the brakes on, Aryana. You've got the craving coming back. You've got the addiction coming back. You've got the habit of regular sugar coming back. So I had a choice at that point. Now, I've trained my body to a pretty high degree of discipline. If I don't want it to do something, I generally don't give in. So I walked away from the ice cream aisle and went on about my shopping. So understanding habits, the longer we've had a habit, the degree to which that habit has helped us, maybe the ice cream kind of helped reduce the stress of the move. Helped me like really enjoy the cool flavor because it was so hot outside. Well, it was serving me. It was a special treat I was doing for myself. But fortunately, it was less than a week, so it was easier for me to gain control of it. What if I let it go on for 3 months? Would it be a little harder to break it? Oh yeah, the body would be craving it. And then we'd have all the other effects of what sugar does to us. Again, don't let me go down their rabbit hole. So understanding the kind of habits, understanding how long we've had it, understanding the success that we got from it. So let's go back to when you were 2 years old. You probably didn't do this. Most of us did, is having a tantrum and getting your parents to pay attention to you. Now, at 2 years old, they're still pretty tuned in and they want to serve you. When you get older, they're not so much. We've trained them. No, this is a tantrum. So maybe you had a tantrum in the grocery store in front of the ice cream aisle, and your mother at the time was really tired, and she just grabbed the ice cream and threw it in the cart and then checked you guys out. Well, did it work that time? Oh yeah, baby. So the tantrum worked. Do you think the next time you're at the grocery store, you might just think, oh, ice cream, I'm going to get it again? Yeah, that's the way the body works. We get feedback that we got what we wanted. So habits are complex. And then, I'm just going to little rant here. Great book, Atomic Habits, up to a point, okay? It does not talk about the brain science. It does not talk about how deeply habits can be ingrained in the body and stored by the unconscious mind for auto repeat. Great tips. So books like that, if you want to shift something small, super good. If you have massive willpower and massive discipline, good on you, because books like that will work. For the majority, they work to just a certain degree, and then they don't. Okay, so that's understanding habits. All right. So retraining the brain. What am I talking about with that? Well, I follow Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, really enjoy his meditations, and he has a phrase. He didn't come up with it. I forgot who did. I found it the other day. Is those things that fire together, wire together. So let's go back to an example of the 2-year-old having a tantrum in front of the ice cream. And the mother then gives the toddler what they want, throws the ice cream in the cart and checks out. If it happens enough time, there becomes a wiring. I do this, I get that. Cause and effect, cause and effect. Well, when we are trying to erase or, let me say, fill in that neural pathway, or in terms of Indian philosophy, the samskara, that is that pathway that we always go down, whether it's a habitual way of thinking or behavior. Well, retraining the brain means to, in the work that I do, is not just making it wrong, not just superficially doing a workaround, change your mind, not doing something. EFT, again, it's one of those great tools, and NLP, great tool, but it only works, in my experience, having done this work for, nearly 20 years now, is it works on the superficial changes and not the ones that have been integrated with success. So if we are doing something habitually and most of the time it doesn't work, that's a little easier to change. But when we've got that integrated and interwoven success, even though it's causing us pain, eating too much sugar can give you a fungal yeast infection and all sorts of yucky things. Really affects your eyes. Okay, I said I wasn't going to go down this rabbit hole. I'm not. I'm pulling myself back. So retraining the brain means overlaying it with a new behavior. There are a couple of Dr. Joe meditations, Breaking Habits and Addictions. It's a short one, about 30 minutes. I really like it. Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I really like it. Some people have trouble meditating. Some people, the idea of sitting there for an hour and 10 minutes, which is breaking the habit of being yourself, it's like, no, can't do that. Well, then we need something else, because being good at meditating is a learned skill. To be able to sit, quiet your mind, force your body to stay seated and not go up and do whatever you're thinking about next, and really training it into the present moment and that single pointed consciousness takes some training. So overlaying it with a new way of being, that's what I love doing. So let's take an example of, let's say me standing in front of the ice cream and I buy it. And as soon as I get home, I'm putting it in the freezer. What'd I just do? I completely forgot. I wasn't going to buy this. We go unconscious. So I put the ice cream in, I buy it, and then I wake up when I get home. I didn't want to buy this. Will I have the discipline to throw it away? No. More often than not, I spent money. I'm going to leave it in there. Okay. So overlaying and retraining your brain takes you far more successful if you go back to the origin of when that link happened. This is not an NLP technique. This is something that is taking the body feelings, because before a habit or a blocking habit takes over our thinking, there is a communication from the body, and it's subtle. And that's part of the training, is learn how to catch those. So capturing the body feelings and then tracing it back in time to the point where that first worked. That satisfaction that happened, that ingrains us to do more of that. And then we retrain the brain by re-perceiving it. Every single event, we go back 5 times. So awesome. It's such a great process. I call it past perception revision process. Some people call it base reframing, a little too NLP for me. And then what happens is that when you get faced with that situation, you have implanted a new behavior. You've implanted a resource that will enable you to draw upon that strength, because it's starting to now become a habit. You've said not this, but this. This is how I want you to create and perceive and handle situations like that. It's very specific language. Please allow me to create, perceive, and handle situations like this in this way. Similar language. I didn't have it memorized for you. Okay, so that's retraining your brain. Fantastic exercise. And then 3, putting into action new learnings. Well, let's see. Yeah, this is a good example. Have you ever bought an online course or bought a book or an Audible book? And in the book, there's motivation, there's making you new thinking, new learning. And you're like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you feel the neurons connecting, the synapses in your brain connecting, like, oh yes, I remember when I did that. Oh, I got to remember this. Next time I'm going to do it. I promise I'm just going to apply this. So good. Well, you finish the book, you finish the program. Do you apply it? Most of us don't. And here's why. Because this habit mind, or let's call it another term, blocking, sabotaging thoughts, beliefs, or energies, it is in charge as soon as we finish the book. Well, how do we anchor that new learning? How do we apply that new learning? Well, one way is we'll clear and resolve the blocker, retrain the brain, put in the new beliefs. Another way is being very proactive. And again, this takes some will and discipline, is writing down the key notes from each lesson, each exercise, and taking time every day to apply it, which is going back to Atomic Habits. There's some good bits in there. And taking time to apply it. And then when you apply it and you feel the good feelings, you see the success of it, it gives this wonderful feedback loop to your unconscious. Oh, that worked. Let's do more of it. Now, what do they say? It takes 21 days to change a habit. You'd have to remember to do that every single day. You possibly could. Put a sticky note on your fridge until the next week, and then it kind of blurs into the background. You don't see it anymore. Move the sticky note to where you brush your teeth. Ah, great. Another week of awareness. I'm reading it. Oh, blurs into the background. Move the sticky note to your computer or something like that. So there are ways to implement and do these routines. But most of us love the learning. I love learning, lifelong student. But it's making the change where it's like, screech, put the brakes on. No. I have to change the way I'm doing things. What? No. So one of the ways that we do that and sneak up on it, making those changes in our programs, especially in the highest potential program and mindful manifesting program, is that we pick a very desirable objective, a goal, an intention. In mindful manifesting, it could be up to a 5 in difficulty. 5 in difficulty means that you can actually see it happening. In highest potential program, you can work with something that's a 10 in difficulty, which means perceptually it's like, whoa, I really want that, but I have no idea how it's going to happen. I can't even imagine it. And so you pick this big carrot, and this carrot's dangling in front of you. You want it. Oh, yeah, baby. And you commit to clearing any resistance that comes up to you getting that carrot. And there's steps, there's a process to guide you down the path to getting your big goal, your big objective. Because forcing it and willpower and discipline only lasts so long for most people. And probably one of the most common ailments now are people feeling fatigued, adrenal fatigue. I mean, way back in the 80s, they talked about the yuppie disease, just being tired. There's chronic fatigue. So a lot of those, I'm not saying that all of them stem from the fact of pushing ourselves, but adrenal fatigue can, because we are overriding when we need to rest and recharge, and we're doing it anyway. And boy, does it feel good to accomplish it, right? So going back to number 2, and number 1 is understanding the habits. We've got a success feedback loop of overriding our exhaustion. So let me see if there's anything else I want to cover here. Nope, I think we're good. All right. So we've been talking about beyond mindset and going deeper to make more significant and lasting changes by retraining our brain. And we talked about understanding habits and those habits that are routine and they support us, recognizing, the ruts when we're retraining our brain that, we just did the same thing that we always do. And I didn't want to drive this way to work. I didn't want to drive that way to the grocery store. I didn't want to go to that grocery store. Sometimes, I forgot to mention this in retraining the brain, is when we get ourselves into the present moment, it can liven things up. It can make us more conscious, more awake, more aware, just by going to a different grocery store, a different trip, back from work, different road to use. So that's understanding habits, retraining the brain. Number 2. Number 3, putting into action new learning. I really enjoyed this. And if you would like to get my free gift, it's Kickstart Your Manifesting Journey. There's a little guided meditation in there and a workbook. I love it. I still do it to this day. These exercises have lasted the time of nearly 20 years. And as we wrap up, remember, when you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. So much love. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you.